YouTube, welcome back to a video that honestly I wasn't planning on making until 2 days ago at time of recording. I should specify it's currently the 22nd of July for me. But yeah, 2 days ago I put up a video in which I had a little chat about the new sonic screwdriver, and it was very loose, it was very casual. I chatted a bit about it, and everyone seemed to really enjoy that. I wasn't expecting that. I don't generally make like reviews of stuff, but with the sonic screwdriver I just kind of thought, you know, it's just been announced, the toy's just been announced, let's make a video. Everyone's interested in this thing, so why not just chip in my own little thoughts and just sort of throw my own opinions out there. Incidentally, a little addendum to that video, I listed 4 sound effects when I was demonstrating what I did. As someone pointed out in the comments, there are 5. It says that on the box that there's 5. I forgot. So just for completionist's sake, it's arguably the least interesting of the noises, so that's maybe why I forgot. But that's sound number 5. So with that out of the way, yeah, people seem to really enjoy that video, and I was surprised. I mean, and the comments were all really positive for the most part. So I just thought to myself, people seem to be interested in hearing what I have to say about things. I have the new B&M figures. They've just been announced, but I have them already. I've had them for like a week now. But yeah, I thought maybe you'd be interested to hear what I think about the figures, just my general thoughts, ramblings. I'll try not to talk for too long. I always do. And then I'll trim out all the trim all that out of the edit. So a sensible place to start would probably be the this little 5 Doctors set that we've got. The second 5 Doctors set of recent years, because we had one a couple of years ago with Tarty Pert. This year we've got another 5 Doctor set, and I'm starting with this one partly because chronologically it's the earliest one, and partly because I had a little bit of mischief. People might have noticed on Twitter, the day I got these, I was taking a bunch of pictures, and I posted a little picture of Richard Hurndall here, lined up with Hartnell and with Bradley, but his face cropped out of frame. Here's a picture, I'm showing it now, and like this is the full version of the picture. Just a little bit of mischief, just a little bit of shenanigans. Obviously I couldn't show off a head sculpt that hadn't been announced yet, but you know, the rest of the figures it's just William Hartnell. Yeah, incidentally, he is holding. I shouldn't have him holding the stick. He doesn't come with a stick. That's just. I had a spare walking stick lying around. I gave it to him. Richard Hurndall minus stick. I really like him. I think he's a fun little guy. Look, the original, you might say, except he's not the original. But I'll stick some pictures up over me talking probably, and that'll give you an idea. He's a really good likeness. There's an old sculpt, pictures of it doing the rounds, of a Richard Hurndall figure from years and years ago that never got released, and a picture leaked ages and ages ago, and we all saw it and were like, yeah, it's a shame we never got that. That would have been neat. But I think the sculpt it was lost. The character options moved, and the sculpt went missing. And Al Duar mentioned this. People were saying, oh, we hear there's going to be a 5 Doctor set. Really loud noise outside. We hear there's going to be a 5 Doctor set. Are we getting the Richard Hurndall figure? And Al pointed out, well, that sculpt doesn't exist anymore, which was true. But no, they made another one. Honestly though, I hadn't seen a very good quality picture of that old sculpt until really recently. The new one's way better. The likeness is, I love it. He looks so much like Richard Hurndall. The other one, reminiscent of Hurndall. This one, literally Hurndall. But yeah, he comes with a little Dalek, and you know we all like a Dalek. There's I have so many. I've got too many Daleks. They need to go on the shelf. You can't stick them in a crate like most other. I mean, you shouldn't really stick any of them in a crate. But I've got more figures than I have room to display them. But the Daleks, my early Daleks are all banged up because I did keep them in a crate. So nowadays I don't. I put them on shelves, and I'm needing to like add shelves constantly to make room for these little guys. But this one, he's so nice. He's just a fun little guy. The nearest thing I can compare this guy to is the the Resurrection Dalek, the Toys R Us version with the orange lights, because we've got these new lights. We've got this sort of spacer ring that makes his neck higher up, which is I'd never noticed that before. I knew that they looked slightly taller. I hadn't realised that their neck bins aren't flush with the bottom of their shoulders. So that's a fun little detail. We've got the little dot of orange paint. But yeah, otherwise they are similar Daleks. This one's got the little silver painted on the mesh. It's just impossible to see. The focus is just not there. Yeah, and this one doesn't. It's a nice little thing. Like I said, it's similar to this one, but it's not meant to be the same Dalek, and it's got the different. I like the new lights. I'm very unobservant. I hadn't noticed the neck bins. I never noticed the lights were these sort of weird, sort of chunky, capped sort of. Well, that's in focus. There we go. Yeah, I'd never noticed that before, but that's really neat. And it's like I said, it's similar to that Resurrection one, but different. It's not the same Dalek, and it's a nice little thing to have. Yeah, like that little guy. Then the next set chronologically would be the Revelation of the Daleks set, which I'm going to be honest, I'm a little confused. I've not managed to find out the answer to this. I have tried as to why we seem to have skipped Resurrection of the Daleks. I was kind of looking forward to a reimagining of this guy in a less blue colour. Apparently not. I'm not sure what's going on. But yeah, the next set's Revelation of the Daleks, and we've got two little Necros guys here. Since my camera seems to just about be willing to focus now, oh yeah, there we go. I will probably put some pictures up so it's not just me. But yeah, so they're both the same. They're identical little guys. Personally, I was hoping for in Revelation of the Daleks, you've got your Necros Daleks and you've got your original Scarrow Daleks, and they're more or less the Resurrection style ones. But they're well, they are the Resurrection set. Not this one with the orange lights, but with the clear lights. And I've had a good old grump about this. We've only had the grey Revelation style Dalek released once. Obviously, you know, as I say, as far as I can tell, the ones in Resurrection and the grey ones in Revelation are the same. I can't see any discernible difference. Most noticeably, the similarity though, this eye stock with the white rings that start big and then get smaller as they go to the front, they're still like that in Revelation. And the Resurrection set that they did in Forbidden Planet like 13 years ago, a while back, the Resurrection set had the right eye stock. The Revelation set didn't. They just had the standard sort of 70s style eye stock with the rings in the sort of like getting bigger to the middle and then smaller again. And I thought to myself, you know, we've had the Dalek correct in terms of eye stock, but kind of looking a bit too blue for Resurrection. We had the Dalek with what I think is a better shade of grey, but with the wrong eye stock for Revelation. I was thinking, B&M set, it's coming. One of these two sets will finally get that Dalek, a sensible shade of blue, grey, and the right eye stock. They got around that issue by just not giving us that figure. What we've got is nice. That's my only criticism, and I don't know if it's really a criticism, more as I would have liked. It would have been nice to have had a grey one, but you can't have it all. A little jump cut there while I pick up my other Necros. I've got a lot of Necros Daleks. I've obviously got the two new ones and and I've got two old ones. So I've got a big old gang of these guys now. I'm not even sure if there's that many in the. I'll put one of the new ones down. So we've got the three existing ones, and I'll cut some pictures over me talking just so you can see better, because it's not super easy to see what I'm talking about. All three of these are different. And I don't have the one from the Revelation set, from the Forbidden Planet one with Davros, but it's different again. It has a long eye stock. It has a 70s eye stock again. But then we've got the Talkie Toaster version. I don't think this will work anymore. I've never changed the batteries, so it's... Yeah, no, that's dead. That's a shame. I've had this for ages. My sister got me this as a present, and it's got a very matte finish. It's in a bit of a sorry state actually, because its head's a bit dented, and its eye sock was bent when I got it. And everyone always says, "Oh, stick it in warm water and unbend it." And it doesn't work. It doesn't work. I've tried it. It just doesn't work for me. So that was the original one. Then we had the Toys R Us version from a couple of years back. From 10 years ago. The 2-pack with the Colin Baker figure. And this one, in terms of paint finish, I don't know how well it'll show up on camera. It's got a slightly shinier paint finish. Otherwise, it's more or less identical to the talking version. But I like my Daleks a little bit glossier. This new version, it's not as matte as the Talkie Toaster version, but it is duller than the Toys R Us version. So it's somewhere in between. I would personally. I will admit, I don't know how glossy they actually are, the real props. I'm not an expert on Dalek-y stuff, so I'm probably not the person to say, oh, it should be like this, but I favour a glossier Dalek. That's just my personal tastes. But they have done some interesting things with this one. They've got another brand new eye stock, and gosh, that's going to be really hard to show on camera, but the old one is very short and very stubby. Focus. No, it doesn't want to focus. Well, you get the idea. It's short and it's stubby, and it's oh, there we go. If I hide my face, then it focuses, and it sort of cuts off like that. The new one is it looks like they're gonna kiss. Yeah, the new one's rounder at the front, and it's slightly longer. We also have a completely new the bit where the guns are. You'll see it's wider and it sticks out further, and at the waistband, I call this bit, and the oval is wider and deeper. And again, we've got this spacer ring under the neck, which we didn't have before, to lift it up and up. It's gold because it's in reality it's the mesh of the neck pin, and the rings are higher up. So that's about. I think the lights are new as well. I think they've. Again, I have a hard time showing this on camera, but they seem to be pointier than the old ones. So I think that might be a new piece as well. Correct me if I'm wrong. That's pretty much. Oh no! Well, the other thing. This is a change I'm not sure is for the better particularly, but they've whereas the old one, the mesh is the raised section is painted gold over white. The new one's just painted solid gold on the mesh. I think I like the detail of this better, but I do now have 4 Necros Daleks of various styles. But yeah, it's a grey one would have been nice. I'm very confused as to why there's not a Resurrection set, and the numbering of these sets, it goes 13 I think for 5 Doctors and 14 for Revelation. So there's not like when they jumped ahead back in the 70s, they skipped Evil of the Daleks to do Day, but the numbers, there's a gap, there's a missing number that they then filled in the next wave, so I'm really not sure what's going on there. And then closing out this wave of sets is what seems to be the one that's piqued people's interest the most when it was sort of initially, like the set title was leaked, although the title that was leaked was a sort of working title. They've not released it with that. It was the 6th Doctor and TARDIS is its official title. It was sort of touted as the Ultimate Adventure set, which is because it's Colin Baker in his outfit that he wore in the Ultimate Adventure, and oh, actually no, it is in focus. Okay, lovely. Yeah, it's a gorgeous figure. It's super nice. We've not had a Colin Baker figure for ages. I think the last one was in the 13. Is it called the 13 Doctor set? That was back in Capaldi's time, so that's got to be well over 5 years ago now. I think it was early Capaldi, because it was one of the miserable, looks nothing like him head sculpt. Sad, what was it? I called it Sad Peter. So that must have been what, 2015, 8 years ago. Yeah, we've not had a Colin Baker figure in ages because the coat's too expensive for them to paint. To budget, the cost of everything goes up, and I gather they just couldn't afford. They've done some interesting things that I've noticed with this to keep the costs as low as they can, and I'm going to talk about those because I think it's kind of interesting. But first of all, let's take a look at the TARDIS, because we've not had a designated Colin TARDIS before. This isn't specific, because I guess this is maybe one of the reasons they're not calling it the Ultimate Adventure. This isn't what the TARDIS looked like in the Ultimate Adventure. The TARDIS in that was massive. It was just a shed with windows. It was huge. It was ridiculous. So we've not gotten that. We've got quite a nice representation of approximately Colin's TARDIS as it appears in the series. And I say approximately because it's got the usual sort of budget necessitated concessions. It's got this big block under the lamp. I don't think there's any way they can really get rid of that without making a new roof. They've got the narrow sign boxes. I hope I'm not like breaking any rules by saying this. I think they were going to replace these, and it just wasn't within the budget. It would have been nice. It's still a pretty. You can tell it's meant to be that version of the TARDIS. For comparison, I've got this one here. This is the box that I have been using until now for Colin's TARDIS, because it's supposed to be from Caves of Vandrazani, and Colin is at least in that story, so that's the closest we had to a Colin Baker TARDIS. The new one is very different, and it doesn't show super well on. I say very different. It's pretty different. It's reasonably different. The police call box sign is a darker blue. The phone panel sign is a lighter blue. The overall box is more sort of saturated, and there's a more sort of a lighter weathering, a sort of silvery, whereas this one's kind of weathered in browns. This one's sort of weathered and sort of silvery. So from now on, this is my definitive Colin TARDIS. This one is now living in with my DVDs. I do have a Davison TARDIS. Let's see if I can. Yeah, there he is. That's the one that's supposed to be from the Visitation. So Davison's got that TARDIS. Colin's got this TARDIS. This one's a spare. But yeah, it's a nice little TARDIS. It's I think this is probably the best of the 80s book. Interestingly, actually, here's another thing I was going to mention, is that the windows are slightly pinkish tinted. It doesn't show very well on camera. I'll put some pictures up occasionally while I'm talking. Yeah, the original one, the windows are all the same colour, and they're sort of this yellowy colour. The new one, they're mostly sort of slightly pinkish orange, with the bottom corner ones the sort of yellowy colour. I'm not sure if that's accurate, but it's interesting. It looks quite nice. So back to Colin. We're floating around a little bit conversationally here. Let's just centre that a bit better. Yeah, I've got 5 Colin Baker figures, and here's the gang. Least interesting one is, well, I mean, not least interesting, but probably my least favourite. I'm not a big fan of Vervoid's outfit. I really wish we had the red outfit from Trial. I suspect we're probably not going to get it, because it requires this coat, and it's just too expensive, I think, and it would need another head as well, so that's going to push the budget up even further. I suspect that's probably never going to happen. Feel free to prove me wrong. But yeah, this is my least favourite outfit of Colin's in the show. I don't dislike it, but it's just, it doesn't quite work for me. The yellow tie, yeah, not a massive fan. Then I have 2 sort of standard Series 22 Collins, and you'll notice that they're different, and this is, again, the downside to filming here. The lighting just doesn't, no, because then I don't know. Yeah, so this is I got this one way back, yeah, this one way back in the day. You'll notice I painted the shirt in myself, because the version that they released just had the collar painted white, and the rest of the shirt was painted like the waistcoat. But these aren't the same figure, even ignoring the alteration I made to my original one. I got this one with, where is he? This Dalek. This is the Toys R Us Colin Baker and Dalek 2-pack, and I got that set quite a long time after the fact. When it was in Toys R Us and it was new, I skipped it because I was like, I have these 2 already. I've got this Dalek, I've got this Colin, it's the same set. Actually, as I was unaware at the time, the nicer, glossier Dalek, but actually the Colin Baker figure is different too. And this is the original Colin Baker figure, has quite distinctly blue buttons on his, oh, that does show actually, quite distinctly blue coloured buttons on his waistcoat, and kind of a dark murky green chain for his watch, yeah? The Toys R Us Colin Baker has buttons that are barely visible over his waistcoat, and a really jaunty green chain like the one that he had at the start of in the first segment of Trial of a Time Lord. I just think that's neat. I think that's like, I wouldn't have noticed the difference if I didn't have both figures. The paint apps on the face are also slightly different. We're comparing figures that both were released like 10 and 15 years ago respectively. This is what you came here for in a video about the new B&M figures. Looking at... So yeah, those two figures that are marginally different. We've got, I think, my favourite Colin Baker figure that I've got, which is this Big Finish style one. With the, I just think that's really nice. I like it. Again, I painted the shirt in on this one because it was annoying me. Yeah, so those were my existing Collins, and then we've got this brand new 5th Colin. He's the 5th, 6th Doctor. He's not in focus. Come on. Yeah. So they I was saying I was going to come back to some of these interesting little sort of cost-saving things that they've done, because I've noticed with a lot of the more recent figures, and this isn't a critique, this is just an observation, because I think this is kind of interesting. Like if you take this Tom Baker figure from last year, the jacket, the arms and the jacket, and actually the legs as well, they're all sculpted in the colour of plastic that they are. They're not... A lot of the earlier figures are completely coated head to toe in paint. And increasingly recently I've noticed they've been sculpting things in the relevant colour of plastic and then just painting on a little bit. So for this Colin Baker, the legs look to have been sculpted in yellow plastic with the stripes painted on. The arms are sculpted in purple, and you can tell that by rotating the arm and having a look at the bicep joint. They're sculpted in purple with the red painted on the inside. The jacket is sculpted in this nice sort of teal colour, because you can tell that because that's the colour that the inside is. The thing that I find the most interesting, and this is going to be a bit of a deep dive for us here, the face is sculpted in flesh-coloured... Oh, there we go. The face is sculpted in flesh-coloured plastic. And... so this is probably going to give some people flashbacks to an incident. Actually, let me just quickly go get an old friend out from the crate and we'll talk about this. Okay, I'm back. So if you've been collecting the figures as long as I have, which is since they started like in 2006, you might remember in 2007 they did a little experiment. It didn't work out, where they cast the figures' heads for a little while in kind of flesh-coloured plastic. They did a David Tennant in a red spacesuit from 42. I don't have that. And they did both versions of the Master, the Derek Jacobi and the John Sim. They actually don't look too bad on camera like this, but they cast them in this skin-coloured plastic, and there was just something kind of waxy looking about it. They also did John Sim Regenerated, which isn't just this head on this body, it's a different, slightly different sculpt for it, because you know, they're different people of different heights. But that was the only ones that they did. They did those 4 figures, and people weren't really keen. The collectors, they don't quite look right. On paper, I think it was a good idea, because the big issue that the earliest figures had was the paint used to always rub off the nose. My original David Tennant figure that I used to carry around in my pocket with me, the paint came off his nose within like a couple of months of me buying him, and I replaced him eventually. I bought another one of the same... Oh, actually, hold on. The original David Tennant figure, the paint rubbed off the nose like that, and I did buy a replacement. This is the one that came with the ghost-busting stuff. And his nose... Oh, for a second there I thought his paint was off his nose as well, and that's just a shadow. He doesn't want to be in focus. But yeah, so I had to replace my original figure because the paint came off his nose. So I think that was the idea with these guys, was... You know, the paint couldn't rub off because they're not really painted. They are slightly painted. There's sort of a bit of pink on Jacobi's jowls, and a bit of pink around the eyes, and obviously the hair and the eyes and stuff. But I think that was the idea, because paint rub on the nose it ruins the figure. It looks terrible. But yeah, the plastic that they chose for that was just too translucent. I think that's the issue. That was kind of a failed experiment as far as I can see, but they've tried it again, and you know what, I think it actually works better this time, because it's whatever sort of plastic they used last time. This one's more opaque. Colin Baker. He doesn't want to focus. You've had a look at him already. And there'll be some pictures. But yeah, it does look like it's... I mean, you can tell that his face is cast in that colour and it's not been painted. But I think if the 2007 ones had been like that, I think people would have been okay with that. I think that would have worked out okay. Which would have been lovely, because the thing that's kind of let down some of the more modern figures, particularly old PCAPs, is amazing sculpt, completely drowned out in like caked on paint. It's I think this is another way of combating the paint rub issue, is they cake it on really thick and it's really hard setting paint. So the downside is we've never got to see Peter Capaldi's face sculpt in its sort of... Yeah, we've never really got to see Peter Capaldi's face sculpt in all its glory, because it's kind of softened by the paint. So part of me kind of hopes that they'll be like, yeah, you know what? We can now do this. We can cast the faces. I'll be interested to see what everyone else thinks. Maybe everyone else will hate this, and then they'll never do it again. I really want Peter Capaldi with an unpainted face. That would be lovely. Just have a really wrinkly, craggy PCAPs. Just I'd love that with a waistcoat. That'd be nice. So yeah, I mean that's kind of it. I don't know how long I've been talking. I had to take a break in filming to go and find some stuff. 3 sets. It's less than usual. Usually it's about 5 sets per wave. There are another 3 coming later in the year. We don't know what they are yet, officially. Is this content that people are interested in seeing? I don't know. Let me know, because, I mean, there's going to be some more B&M figures later in the year. Whether I have them before the release or after, I don't know. I don't want to take anything for granted, but people seem to enjoy the loose tone of the Sonic Screwdriver video. That's kind of the reason I made this. I brought you in under the pretense of showing you the new B&M figures, and I've shown you a lot of figures that are neither new nor from B&M. So... maybe a little bit misleading. I'm not a reviewer. That's kind of the takeaway. I have thoughts on the figures. Favourite set, 5 Doctors. Best sculpt, Herndl. The Daleks are nice, but I wish we'd had a grey one for Revelation. Colin Baker, the unpainted face is really interesting. The TARDIS is super nice. I mean, that's my opinion on them, but what do you think about the figures? Should I stop making videos about things? Maybe. That's about it. Yeah, I'm going to end the video there. I have said everything that needs to be said. Come back for the next video, or don't. I wouldn't. But yeah, thank you for watching, and have a nice day. There's an image I found floating around the internet a couple of years ago that had David Bradley and William Hartnell and Richard Herndl all sort of gathered around the TARDIS console like that. And it really warms my heart that I can recreate that image now with action figures. It's such a stupid thing to want from a figure, but that alone is enough to sort of sell Richard Herndl. Oh, if you've stuck around this long, the little joke that I was making with trying to pretend that my Richard Herndl was just the 3 Doctors Hartnell, they are actually quite different. Obviously they've got different waistcoats, and they've got slightly different coloured trousers and obviously a different head, and one wears gloves and the other doesn't. But the thing that became... I'm in a Doctor Who figure Discord server, and we got in this ridiculous running joke about shiny shoes, because the new one... How do I hold things? The new one has shiny shoes, and the old one doesn't. It doesn't really show that well on camera. It kind of does. As many sort of conversations with me tend to do, it devolved into silliness, and someone said, oh, picture of shiny shoes next to Davros, and I made this image of Davros with shiny shoes, and I just thought I'll share that with you now before you... Anyone that's stuck around for this bit, why? There's nothing of consequence in this... There's nothing of consequence in this video at all. But yeah, so that's a funny little thing. I thought, a little wind up. Bye.